Hey folks, good morning. I hope you're all doing well so far. If you're starting your day, I hope you're having a good start. If you're already midway through your day, I hope you're having a good day so far. My name is Toki. Welcome to Ripley's Aquarium of Canada. I work here as an educator in the aquarium. And today I will be talking to all of you about Rainbow Reef and at the same time to go along with the spooky season, we will be presenting to you a pumpkin carving competition underwater. I believe my scuba diver friends are just getting ready. They will be here soon. For now, I will just introduce a few more things. Before I go any further, I just wanted to go through a land acknowledgement, so please join me for that. Ripley's Aquarium of Canada acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Today, the meeting place of Toronto, also known as Takaranto, meaning the place in the water where the trees are standing, is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to work on this land. All right. A few things to mention. I think I can see my scuba diver friends over there. I'll introduce them once they go in their water. I think they're just getting ready. A few things to mention about this habitat. This is Rainbow Reef. I'll try and give you a good span of the habitat. There we go. Hopefully, my hands are not too shaky. Here in Rainbow Reef, it is our fourth largest habitat in the aquarium. I believe it can hold up to about 200,000 liters of water. That's a lot of water. And it is home to our it is our most biodiverse habitat. It's home to a lot of our tropical fish. When I say biodiverse, I just mean there's a lot of life here, and there's a lot of different types of life. And these are tropical fish that you would find in places such as that are closer to the equator, coral reefs that are closer to the equator. Say, for example, coral reefs that you would find in Australia or somewhere in Southeast Asia. So yeah, that's why you can see there's a lot of color swimming around. A part of today's program is I will be introducing some of these fish, and I will be talking about corals as well and how we can help corals out. And at the same time, I will try my best to give a commentary about the pumpkin carving once it happens. We'll see how it goes. Now, to add a few more, to share a few more information for detail for my friends here. Um, oh, we have before that actually. Let me just show you one fish that is really close to us right now because they might swim away. That's one of our porcupine pufferfish. As its name suggests, it does have a lot of spines on its. It does have a lot of spine, and it's a pufferfish. It's a type of fish that can puff up their body whenever they feel threatened. Um, I'll talk more about them later on, but for now, I'll just introduce our scuba divers because they are in a really good shot on the screen here. Um, so this tradition that we have or that we're showing to you folks, we try and do it every year, and we pump obviously would be carving our pumpkins underwater. You'll see everything that our scuba divers would have that or everything that they would need. Um, they have their pumpkin right there. I believe there's a carving tool just hanging on over there on one of the corals. And a lot of our fish are really showing interest already. That's one of our scuba diver. That is Olivia. And we have Alicia right here. I'll give them a wave when they can see me or when they have eye contact. I'll wave at them and I'm pretty sure they'll wave back. Anyway, today Alicia and Olivia will be having a competition. There we go. Olivia over there and Alicia over here. And I will give them 10 minutes to carve their pumpkin. And basically, what I'm going to do is I will tell them when to start. My friends around me will tell them how much time they have left. And we'll see how it goes. If you would like to vote on who, I guess you can type in chat whoever you think would be the first one to finish their carving or would be able to do the best one. You can type it in chat. If you're watching us from Instagram later on or from any other social media, I guess give us a heart or a like depending on who you want to vote for. I guess like for Alicia over here, and a heart for Olivia over there. Anyway, I think we can get started with the carving now. Once they start carving the pumpkins, here we go. Friendly competition as always. That's important. And I'll also try and see if I can guess what they will be carving. I do not know what they plan on carving, but we'll see. A few things to mention, because at this point you might be wondering, is this safe for the animals? Well, folks, it's not just us humans that like pumpkin spice. Although I'm not a big fan, to be honest. All these fish, every time we do this, they end up finishing up the pumpkin within 2 days, within 3 days. They eat all of it. To prepare for this, we do remove the guts ahead of time. Uh, and I believe to give our scuba divers a fair chance, because they're doing this underwater, um, they would be trying to mark out whatever they want to carve ahead of time. Underwater, what they do is strictly just carving out whatever they've marked ahead of time. But yeah, I'll give more updates as we go along. A few things to mention about this habitat, by the way. I mentioned that it's our most biodiverse habitat in the aquarium. There's a lot of fish in here. In case you were wondering, we do have about 1,000 fish in total in this habitat, and that is represented by about 100 different species, 100 different types of fish. So yeah, it's very biodiverse. One of the porcupine pufferfish is one of the fish that we have here that I mentioned. Another cool fish that we have in this habitat, or at least in my eyes, it's very cool, would be this fish right here. I think my friends know what that fish is in the middle of the screen. A lot of my friends might know this fish as Dory. Its fish name is actually pallet surgeonfish or blue tang. And I am a big fan of the blue tang, because something that the Disney movies doesn't tell us is that these blue tangs, these pallet surgeonfish, they pack a punch. Um, they belong to a group of fish called the surgeonfish. And because of that, or they are given this name surgeonfish because um, at the base where their tail is connected to their body, it's actually a very sharp spine that if other fish accidentally touches, they would just get injured. It's said to be sharper than a surgeon's scalpel. That's why they're called. Their group is called the surgeonfish. Now, most people don't know as well that dory or pallet surgeonfish, they're actually capable of causing food poisoning. In some island nations, they've said that whoever tries to eat a pallet surgeonfish, they would just end up getting food poisoning. So, the point that I'm trying to make to my friends here is that if you see dory or the pallet surgeonfish, make sure to keep your distance. You can watch from afar. Now, another cool fish in this habitat would be the fox-faced rabbitfish. It's a bit difficult to see right now, but it's that fish right there, actually the yellow fish right there. Whenever they feel threatened, they actually are able to push out their spines on their back, and it's actually venomous. Their spines. So if a big predator ends up eating them, the predator would just get injured. And because they can do that, predators actually end up just being wary, just staying clear from them, basically. We do have a lot of fish in here that are venomous or poisonous. That's one cool trait that you would find in a tropical coral reef. A lot of fish have had many chances. A lot of life has had many chances to evolve and to diversify, and that's one of the things that they've picked up. Let's look at a bit of update for with our pumpkin carving competition. I have Alicia right here. It's a bit difficult to see what they are carving, so maybe I'll get a chance to guess what that is later on. But it looks like Alicia has had progress. From what I can see, um, it looks like she's almost done. Or she's. Oh, maybe she's. Let's move over here to see some progress right there. Oh, yeah. It looks like she's making good progress. We'll see. I still don't know from this view what she's making, though. Um, And let's move over to Olivia real quick. Let's see what Olivia. Well, Olivia is a bit more secretive. It's hard. It's harder for me to tell what they're making, but I'll give you an update later on as to what they're making if I can figure it out. Most of the time, it's hard for me to figure it out. From the looks of it, I think they have about 5 more minutes. Now, going back to Rainbow Reef, I mentioned that we do need to talk about corals, since, as you can see in this habitat, we do have a lot of corals in this habitat, and corals are very important for this type of ecosystem, a coral reef ecosystem. A few things to mention first. The corals that you can see in this habitat in the Rainbow Reef, they're actually fake corals. If any of you have been to the aquarium before, most of our corals are fake. We only have one habitat. It's actually small, with live corals, mainly because we didn't want to take any more corals from the ocean. It would just be too devastating, um, especially since they're very important and they are having a lot of issues right now in the ocean. And it's much easier for us to take care of these habitats. It's easier for us to swim between because corals are actually very sensitive. If you accidentally graze live corals, it might just end up hurting them. Now, a few other things to mention about corals. The most common question I get asked whenever people would walk through Rainbow Reef or throughout the aquarium, or it's one of the most common questions. People would always wonder, what are corals? What are they made of? Well, I can share with you folks for a fact that corals are a very complex organism. They are alive. They're organisms. They are living organisms. A coral, one big coral is actually made up of an animal, a plant, and a rock. They have all of those three components. Let's move a little bit to the side over here so that I can use this big green brain coral as an example. Oh, a bit of an update on Olivia's pumpkin carving. From the looks of it, it's a bit tough to tell from camera, I guess. But from what I can see, she is making a bit of progress as well. I would guess she is about 50% done. Anyway, going back to corals, I mentioned that a coral, they have an animal component. So one big coral is actually made up of millions, hundreds, thousands, millions of animals, small animals called polyps. They look like jellyfish, only upside down and microscopic, really, really small. The plant component would be the algae that are living in the tissues of these polyps. And the rock component would be the skeleton that they produce. Their skeleton eventually becomes as hard as a rock. That's why if you've ever seen live corals, or if you're looking at all of the different fake corals that we have here, you'll see there are many different structures. That's all thanks to their skeleton. Anyway, that's essentially what a coral is. To help explain further, I always share this analogy. Think of a coral as an apartment building. One big coral is one big apartment. The whole apartment itself, or everything concrete on the apartment, would be the skeleton of the coral. Each living unit, each living space, apartment unit would be the polyp, and the people living inside of the apartment unit would be the algae. That's essentially what a coral is. Now, I mentioned earlier that corals in the ocean, they are in a bit of a bind. They are in a bit of a in some sort of problem. If you have been listening to the news in the recent years, there has been a lot of coral bleaching happening all over the world. Most of it has been reported from Australia. Most of the reports have come from Australia because of the Great Barrier Reef, the biggest coral reef ecosystem in the world. Now, to give my friends a bit of an idea as to what coral bleaching is, coral bleaching is when corals are under so much stress that they end up pushing out the algae that are living in their tissues. The polyps, if you remember, they have algae. When the polyps are under so much stress, they end up kicking out the algae that are living in their tissue. That's when the corals and their color, they would turn stark white. As you can see here, normally corals are very colorful, and even if you've seen corals in the ocean, live corals, they're quite colorful. But when they kick out the algae living in their tissues, they lose their color. Now, coral bleaching is a sign that corals are in danger. that they could also end. It's also a sign that they could also end up dying, but it's not permanent. It's something that corals can recover from, but they would require a lot of time to be able to recover, and the right conditions to be able to recover. What scientists are noticing nowadays is that coral bleaching events and whatever is stressing corals out, um, it's happening so frequently that it's not giving corals enough time to recover, and they just end up dying. Is what scientists are noticing. Um, at this point, you might be wondering, friends, what could be stressing corals out? Oh, before I talk about that, I think we are done with our time. We are done with 10 minutes, and I think Alicia over here might be ready. Olivia over there is still working on it, but we'll give her an extra minute or two. We'll see how it goes. Over here, oh, Olivia over there. I thought I mixed up their names, but anyway, Alicia over here. Let's see. It looks like Alicia's just putting the finishing touches. I will give her maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and I'll continue talking about corals and coral bleaching. I'll keep my camera on Alicia, and we'll see how it goes. We'll go along. We'll talk more depending on the situation. It looks to me like they could both use an extra minute or two, and that is totally fine. Anyway, I was mentioning earlier, going back to corals, what would be causing them stress, you might be wondering. Well, friends, climate change. Climate change has the effect, climate change do end up stressing corals out. It might not seem like it could, but it does. One of the effects of climate change is that it can end up warming up the water in the ocean. And whenever the water around corals get too warm, even if it's just a tiny change in the temperature, they get very stressed out. Corals are very sensitive. Yeah. Um, Another issue with too much. So what causes climate change is that there's too much greenhouse gases. One of those green in the atmosphere. One of those greenhouse gases would be carbon dioxide. Too much carbon dioxide in the air does have an effect of making the ocean acidic as well. The carbon dioxide in our atmosphere ends up going into the ocean, and if there's too much carbon dioxide in the water, it becomes too acidic. If you've ever tasted lemon before, if you've ever had vinegar or orange juice and something tastes tangy, I guess those things are what you would say liquid that's too acidic, or drinks that are too acidic, if that makes sense. Anyway, I think our before continuing further with corals, I think our friends are ready to reveal what they've carved, and let's see. Also, if I were to guess from the looks of it, I think it was Olivia that finished first. But we'll see if we can try and guess what they've carved. We'll see whoever is ready. From the looks of it, a lot of the fish are already snacking on the pumpkin. Like I mentioned earlier, this is completely safe for our animals. They actually love this because it's a change in their diet. Oh, I think Alicia over there is ready first. Whoever said that Alicia would win or would be done first, then you folks, you were right. We're gonna move a little closer to Alicia and see what they've made. From the looks of it, I think it's. So let's look at this real quick. It's the body of a stingray with a horn. I want to say it's a devil ray. There we go. A devil ray. My first guess was supposed to be a manta ray, but then I don't think manta rays have horns, although their head looks like they have horns. Anyway, we'll stick with a devil ray. Now let's see if Olivia over here is ready. Oh, I think there's a piece that fell off, but from I think Olivia tried to recover it. But from the looks of it, I can see a turtle. Oh, that's really cute. Can you imagine the amount of work that goes into that, and underwater too? That's amazing. All right. In case you were wondering at this point, what's going to happen to the pumpkin? Well, we would actually be putting some weights into the pumpkin so that they stay underwater. for as long as they can so that the fish can snack on them. And like I mentioned earlier, this is totally safe for the animals. They actually find it fun because it's a change in their diet. Imagine yourself if you end up eating uh, the same food, or similar food all throughout the year, or throughout a week, and then you end up seeing something different or getting something different. It's fun for you. It's very similar to our animals. Would you like to try and change up their diet as often as we can? I would say I mentioned this earlier, but I would give this about 2 days before it vanishes, maybe three. I'll go back later on and I'll check later on, and I'm pretty sure we would update you as well as to how it's going. Okay, we're almost done here, friends. Before to wrap things up, I would just wanted to finish talking about what's harming corals. I was talking about climate change, ocean warming, and ocean acidification, how they can stress corals out, and they are leading to a lot of the coral bleaching that we are seeing nowadays. A few things. The last thing that I wanted to mention, since we are an aquarium, and since in the aquarium we do like to talk about conservation, and it doesn't make sense to just talk about what's harming corals right now. Um, I would like to end this off by talking about how we can help corals out. Since the issue that I highlighted is climate change, folks, the best suggestion that I can share with you about in regards to helping corals out and all of these fish is to think about how you can help climate change out. One thing that I like to mention to anyone whenever I talk about helping out climate change is that anything that you can do, even if it's small, just do it and it'll help out. Any small thing that we can do will help out in a big way eventually. Um, Say for example, personally, I like to try my best not to use any, or to decrease the amount of plastic that I use. Plastic itself is not bad, but how we produce plastic does end up releasing a lot of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, and that could make climate change worse. And again, plastic itself is not bad. We benefit a lot from plastic. I have a lot of plastic Tupperware that I keep in my refrigerator to help me keep food. What I do think is bad is the single use plastic, the types of plastic that we use only once and then we throw out right after. Say, for example, from cutleries, plastic cutleries, or plastic plates, even plastic bags that we would get from grocery stores. Instead of getting plastic bags, maybe you can think about bringing a tote bag or usable tote bag. Instead of using plastic cutleries, maybe you can think about bringing your own personal cutlery set or even chopsticks if that's something that you use. Um, and say, for example, if you're at an age where you do buy drinks, coffee or tea from a coffee shop, maybe you can think about bringing your own reusable mug instead of buying the coffee cups that they have. Because even though coffee cups are made of paper, they are lined with plastic or with wax inside to make them more water resistant. So yeah, those are some simple ways to help out. Now, I do not want to take any more of your time at this point. I think we are good to end here. A few things to mention. It's a bit difficult to see your questions, but if you do want to ask us your questions, feel free to email us. We do like to answer your questions, or if you are on any of our social media, you can ask your questions there. Leave your questions there, and then we'll get back to you with answers. And I will just get a last wave from Alicia and Olivia over here, just so they know that we are ending this. All right. Um, we saw Alicia over there. Oh, there we go. A last look of Alicia's Devil Ray. That is amazing. All right, folks. At this point, I just want to wish that you enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye, folks.